Let us go to the bad guy. Let us go to the one and only Chael P. Sonnen, the pride of Westland, Oregon, my old friend. There he is. Yeah, ding, 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 ding.
Ow.
Ding, ding. Chael, how are you? Happy holidays.
What an incredible job you just pulled of TV magic. Thank you, buddy. I'm sorry I had a little technical difficulty. Can I get right into it? Because you brought this up yesterday.
Yes.
Okay.
Can't wait.
John Cena.
Can't wait.
And you brought this up yesterday. Now, you are so correct on this. And this is open to interpretation. And I have my own. Which
Thank you.
John Cena is not a legit badass. Not like in the slightest. He didn't go take martial arts classes. Right, he was doing the bodybuilding and this kind of stuff. But it's very relevant that you understand that, because I don't believe in my heart that John Cena understands what it means to tap and pass out. You don't tap. There's very different taps. If your leg is going to snap because you're in Ric Flair's figure four and you sacrifice the evening's festivities for the goodness of your health and your leg, if you tap out due to strikes, if you tap out in a chokehold, John Cena, not being a badass, does not understand the difference in those three. And moreover, and evident of the fact is he then passed out, Ariel. They not only got him to tap and quit, he then fell asleep. Now, he fell asleep as a way of saying, I hung in there to the bitter end. It's just from a physiological standpoint, not possible. You cannot tap and not have consciousness. It's a double loss. From a wrestling standpoint, it's being pinned while being technical fauled. And whoever talked him into this in the back is not his friend. Whoever told him, this is the way you want to do it, John, and then act like you're unconscious, that you fought to the bitter end, is not his friend. And there's only a few true shooters in the back. And one of them set him up.
Wow. So am I correct in insinuating from that response,
100% you're correct. Sorry to cut you off.
No. You hated it too.
Oh, it was awful. I couldn't believe that he did it. And Ariel, I just can't tell you how in line I am with you. I mean, again, I'm yesterday's clip, but you said, hey, listen, it's a time-honored tradition. Yes. No, it's not. It's a time-honored tradition, in the main event. It is not a time-honored tradition because you're saying "c'est la vie" when you're jerking the curtain and people are still getting their popcorn and sitting down. That's brand new tradition, as a matter of fact. Now, it could not have happened to a better guy in Gunther. I think Gunther is one of the great workers. I'll just share with you, John didn't lose once. He didn't pass the torch. He lost twice. He tapped out and he passed out per the rules of professional wrestling. If you are separated from your consciousness, not only do you lose, if it's a title match, the title can change hands. It's not like a count out, for example, or a disqualification where the title can't change hands. It's the same as a 1, 2, 3. He lost twice. And my problem with it, I don't think he knows. Whoever grabbed him in the back and told him to do this pretended to be his friend. They stabbed him in the back twice.
I'm so happy that you say this, because I've had a lot of hatred come my way, and people say like, oh, you're a mark, you don't get it. This was beautiful. It was cinema. Of course the guy whose motto is never give up should give up. Why? Why does he have to give up? Why? This is the one sports entity where you can actually give people the happy ending, right? If you had your retirement fight and you were fighting some guy, we don't know if you're going to win or lose. I said this to DC. You probably wanted to go out with a win over Stipe. You couldn't do that. Don't tell me that if they would have come in the back and been like, hey man, you got to do the job for Stipe, you would have been down for that. No, you wouldn't have. So why does it have to be that way in wrestling? Now, if he had a deal on the table, Chael, from let's say AEW, yeah, beat that guy's ass. Do the job, because now you're going to another territory. But this, and you know what they'll point to, by the way? You know what they'll point to? They'll say, look at the nuclear heat that Gunther got yesterday. Of course he's going to get heat for that. But in 3-4 months, no one's going to remember it. He's going to job to Jey Uso, and the whole thing's going to be forgotten. And you just robbed a bunch of people in Washington of a great moment.
Do you know what these are, these little white pouches people are sucking on?
No. What is it?
Dustin Poirier turned me onto it's called a Zen.
Zen, yes.
Ariel, I am high as a kite. I do not know what it comes in certain milligrams.
Wow. You're actually high right now? This is incredible.
I guess. I'm lightheaded. I started giving you that rant and I had to pull back. I've taken one drink of this, which doesn't affect me like it does. This is a 3 mil. Whoa.
By the way, the combo of that and the Red Bull, I feel like is a little bit much.
What
No?
does high mean, by the way? I mean, I think when people say they're high, like everything is great. I'm not like everything's great. I'm a little light. In fact, I don't feel wonderful. I think high is supposed to be a good feeling.
Do you need 5 minutes?
Yeah, I need 5 minutes. Okay,
Okay.
Ariel. I really do think that he got set here. Listen, if I may just back up.
Sure.
Bill Goldberg. Now, this is a dick move by me. This is a jerk thing to come out and point out, but Goldberg never picked up on it. Goldberg had a level of arrogance where he wouldn't come in and pass the torch or help anybody ever. So the entire industry, now this isn't Chael's opinion. I got this right from writers at the WWE because when all was said and done, they felt that Goldberg still didn't realize that he got a receipt. That Goldberg, as he's getting his bag and walking out the door, they felt like it was not Montreal with Bret Hart where he understood that he got it stuck to him by the boss. They can't get Goldberg there. So they throw a show and they host it as his retirement party. That's the work. That's where they outworked the worker. They got him to show up because he believed it was his great signing moment, and it wasn't. They brought him in to make him look like a fool, all the way down to production and cut his mic and did the whole bit. They were trying to let him know, you're not sticking it to us. And then they were upset. This is the whole reason they contacted me to come out and make sure I explain this to the world. He didn't know. He thought like the mic just went bad and it was one of those nights. That actually irritated them. Now, I'm telling you that because I don't believe that John Cena knows that whoever came in and sat down with them and told, hey, listen, you're going to tap out, but then what you're going to do, partner, is you're going to pass out. So you're going to signify to the world, I quit, while showing the world I would never give up. I've lost. I mean, they could have rolled him over and counted to 1, 2, 3. He lost in every possible way that wrestling allows. And then the little prick tried to do it with a smile on his face as like a way of going into business for himself. It's over. You tapped out. You're not a main event. I mean, that's another thing. Like the mere fact, you want to talk about doing the job? Doing the job is being John Cena and showing up to his show and jerking the curtain for 12 other guys. That's the job. He then taps out. He then loses consciousness. And by the way, I'll remind you, this time-honored tradition, and I know I already said it once, but it is exclusively for main events. If I go back to the return of Stone Cold Steve Austin at a WrestleMania against Kevin Owens, Austin went over to remind you.
Yes, great call, great call. And when you say main event, I mean, he was the last match of the night. So what do you mean by that?
Okay, here's the problem, Ariel.
Okay.
My source is a guy named Joseph Dodd who told me that Cena was opening the card.
Okay.
He told me that much like Uso at WrestleMania this year, where the championship match opened to the card, he told me Cena opened the card. Do I have that detail wrong?
Yes. He actually.
I did not know that. I ordered it on Peacock. I watched it. I'm a subscriber. It was on at like 4 o'clock, 4 or 5 or 6 o'clock. I thought it was earlier. I thought there was more shows.
No,
I guess I have that.
There was a rumor that he was going to open the card, but then he ended up being main event. So I was kind of confused by you saying that a couple of times.
No, I appreciate you correcting that. That's a very big deal. And by the way, this Gunther is great. You know, Gunther got put in a very hard spot. Like, he deserved critical acclaim a couple of years ago, but he's playing like this SOS agent, and nobody wants to touch it, including the announcers. Like, it was left to the audience to understand that he was with the alt-right, but they never actually said it. So then people really couldn't praise him for the character because we're all pretending that we don't fully understand what that character is. Like, it was this really weird time. And I just felt like Gunther really deserved some praise. I feel like he's one of the great workers, and I really couldn't be happier that Cena made a very bad decision twice. And that's the part I'm here to correct on your show. He made it twice. I just want to make sure that he knows that, unlike Bill Goldberg that walked out with his bag and never knew that he got set up. And whoever told him to do that is not his friend. Somebody in the back set him up.
Could I ask, if you had the pen, if you were the head booker on the night, how would you have written it?
Well, first off, I would have let him go over. I believe that I would have let him go over. And again, I would just go back to Austin with Kevin Owens. It didn't hurt Owens a bit. As a matter of fact, it helped him. Kevin Owens was in this great spot. It was a great match. They go into the audience. I mean, they take their time. They let it breathe. It was a really great match. And there's nothing about it where you look back and think, you know, that he lost to the Rattlesnake. And so I just share with you, on one hand, I would have considered letting him go over, but two, I would not have had him lose twice. You know, and then if he's going to try to be cutesy like all the wrestlers, and he's going to try to give a smile and do some of these things, I mean, it just shows from an artistic standpoint that there was not an error made. This was exactly as he planned. He knew where the cameras were. He knew to smile to look like he's laying there like he's Chael Sonnen against Craig Jones. He doesn't know when to flop or when to come to, so he sells it to the audience. It was just a terrible spot. And for a guy to go out like that, not to mention, Aaron, this is the 5th retirement match I've watched of John Cena. I happen to believe that this is actually it.
Yes.
And they got very cutesy with the words. I mean, you talk about being a writer. It was the final. It was the last. They called it all sorts of things from final to last to us. I do believe that this is actually it. But somewhere in the back, somebody sat down with him and went over this. And he got advice. He did not just come up with this on his own. Somebody told him, after you tap, lose consciousness to show that you hung into the bitter end. The problem is, it's not possible. You can't tap while asleep. They could have rolled him over and pinned him from 3 to 300. It was brutal. He did not need to be buried multiple times. And my hang up with it is that somebody, a real badass, somebody that actually understands mixed martial arts, convinced him to do it. That dude is a scumbag.
Wow. And the other thing that I'll just say is, a lot of people were saying to me, that's what John wanted. But to your point, I believe John is the ultimate company man. And so if you pitch him on something, he'll say, yeah, of course, I think deep down he wanted to be victorious in his final fight. But the last thing that I'll say on this is this idea that, hey, this is what you do because this is how it's always been. Time-honored tradition, 1975. Portland wrestling, 1976 Memphis wrestling. You leave the territory, you do the job. Well, excuse me, for the past year we've been told, WWE Unreal on Netflix and, the business has changed and we show you behind the curtain. It's not 1975 anymore. And so we know that John Cena is going to do some movies. We know that he's done. Let us enjoy, let us celebrate, let him go over, give us all the greatest hits, and we move on with our lives. And so it's like pick and choose. Are we doing the time-honored tradition or are we doing 2025 wrestling? Because 2025 wrestling says John Cena goes over. 1975 says he loses. He does the job for Gunther. But in this day and age, it's different. And so I don't like the back and forth. It's like we have to pick what we want to be in the year 2025.
Well, and not to mention, and I love that too. I love the history of professional wrestling. And in 1975, there was not social media and there was not cameras and there was not Chael and Ariel talking about it after the fact. It was designed for a live house audience. I don't hate the idea that Cena went over. There are some mistakes from the past. The Undertaker doing the job for Lesnar is probably the biggest example. It never should have happened. And you could debate Hulk versus Warrior, but at that time when Hulk was getting ready to go off and do movies, it was also arguable that the Warrior beats him clean. But no, you are right. There's another rule in professional wrestling, which is you give the audience what they want, but not what they're expecting. That was not what anybody wanted and or expected. Cena did not need to go out twice. There was so many different ways, and I think this is where you and I are aligned against the rest of the world. There was so many ways that he could have passed the torch, that if you cling to that 1975 live house business model, he could have done that. That wasn't the way. To go out in such an incredible flop wasn't the way.
Chael, let's move on. I want to get your thoughts on Ilia Topuria. He comes out yesterday with, a bit of a shocking statement. This seems a lot more serious and deeper than we had originally thought. What do you think they should do with the lightweight title? There's been some talk this morning of just making the Paddy Pimblett-Justin Gaethje fight for the actual title. Do you like that idea? Does Ilia deserve 6-7 months to figure things out? And if he can't come back, then you move in that direction? What do you think they should do with it?
I'm going to dance. I'm going to do a little tiptoe, but I was at the Apex a week ago. I had a conversation with a very meaningful person in this industry, and that was the first person that ever suggested to me that Ilia be stripped. And I was a little surprised by it, and I didn't comment, I listened. Their argument, though, was that the interim belt is for those that are dealing with an illness or an injury. If we would like to show grace to an undisputed champion, because he's missing matches specifically for illness or injury. And the moment Ilia informs us that he is missing matches for anything outside of the criteria of illness or injury, that's why you strip him. That there is no precedence for an interim championship. And I had never thought of that, and I thought it was very cold. I didn't like it. I got in my car, I went back to my hotel, I'm staying by myself, and I thought about it. And I go, man, there's actually a point to that. If Ilia is missing matches And all he's got to do is make the claim. He doesn't have to be telling the truth. A lot of guys didn't tell the truth. A lot of guys have missed fights and said they're hurt because they didn't want to make the walk. But if you're making a claim outside of illness or injury, to my understanding, the person at the UFC is correct. You're not eligible. You got to be stripped. I think that is a fair point. I don't want him stripped. I'm on Ilia side of this. I don't really like what he's going through. I think he shared more with us than he has to. I also think he's innocent. He seems like a good guy. I really don't think that he would have done these things. However, yeah, they got to strip him. If he's not making the claim that he's injured and has some kind of a doctor report to back it up, as bogus as those can be, he's got to be stripped.
Prior to the Dan Hooker Arman Tsarukyan fight, Dana White was asked if they were fighting for the number one contender spot. He said yes. And then, of course, Arman wins. And then we find out that the interim title fight is not featuring Arman Tsarukyan, and he said he's ready to go, and it was going to be a little over 2 months after his fight. And then Dana White said, I don't care about the ranking next to his name. He's got to earn our trust back, essentially, right? You had the title fight, you screwed it up, you got to work your way back. How do you feel about the way in which they are treating Arman Tsarukyan?
Well, I would have this question because there was a couple of different moving parts. Just by example, when it was stated that Arman and Hooker, the winner of that, would fight for the championship, they were referring to the undisputed championship, just to start with. So now that we find out we've got to do an interim championship, in some ways, right, you're only as good as the information that you have. And secondly, I would just remind you, Arman's next fight may be a championship fight. Arman hasn't been booked again. So sometimes, even when you have a number one contenders match, sometimes the next title fight doesn't involve those guys, but that guy's next fight does involve the title. So we got to let that play out just a little bit. I talked to Tsarukyan, and he is not happy about this. I thought perhaps he didn't want to turn it around this quickly. He was booked, after all, with Hooker for 5 rounds, even if it didn't go the entire way. To remind you, the night that Tsarukyan was suspended, UFC 300, he's walking to the ring and he punches somebody on the way to fight Charles Oliveira. I was there. They were inducting me into the Hall of Fame that night, so they brought me right up to the cage. I witnessed Hunter Campbell. I witnessed the conversation where Hunter met Tsarukyan at the stairs and offered him to go to Atlantic City and fight Islam. And right there in that moment, Tsarukyan said, no, it's too fast. And that fight was like a 5-week turnaround. Tsarukyan said, no, it's too fast. I want to use my number one contendership another time. They went in the back, called Dustin Poirier, go to the press conference and make the announcement. I tell you that whole story to let you know that I reached out to Tsarukyan just wondering if perhaps that's what happened here. Perhaps it was too quick of a turnaround. That's not the case. He wanted the title fight, but you're only as good as the information that you have at the time.
It's a fair point. I do want to say, you said Atlantic City, and that was coming up. It was actually the Newark card, same state. But you're right. They did ask him for the quick turnaround. I just feel like when I hear, I'm reminded of Renan Barão, part of UFC 177. He was supposed to fight TJ Dillashaw. Weigh-in day, he slipped, hit his head, you'll recall, and in entered Joe Soto. And they made Renan go and fight someone else named Mitch Gagnon, and then he won that fight and then got another crack at TJ. And so I feel like the guy paid his dues, he beat Hooker, and now let him fight for the belt. You're right, though. If Ilia doesn't come back, and who would have known, and maybe they did know and just didn't tell us, he should fight the winner of Gaethje versus Pimblett. I mean, I think it would be shocking if he doesn't. But the problem is, if Ilia does come back, how do you not give the winner of Gaethje versus Pimblett the shot at Ilia, right? You win that interim belt, that should mean that's your lottery ticket to fight the champion, and now Arman is SOL, as they say. He's on the sidelines looking in.
That's a really great, I hadn't thought it through in that regard, but yes, you're right. And we saw a little bit of that with the heavyweight division where yes, Aspinall actually defended the championship. And yeah, it gets a little bit weird. I hadn't thought of it like that. Listen, I'm not making a push for Ilia to get stripped. My push to Ilia, and if he sees this, is get well soon. Whatever's going on, I'm pulling for Ilia. There is a very legitimate point, though. Like, if we don't strip a guy for missing matches, even if he's got a heartache, why do we strip a guy? I mean, is that like Jack Tunney days and you got to miss 365 days? You got to set up an escrow account like the Ultimate Warrior when he used to no-show? Like, why do we strip a guy? And just to remind you back to Prohaska, they misdiagnosed him and took the belt off him in 7 days on a misdiagnosis. They called it the worst shoulder injury they'd ever seen, which was false. Said his career was over, none of which was true. And when he returned, they didn't even put him in for a title fight for the belt that they took off of him. So I'm just sharing, if we're going to use history as a trajectory to the future, the person at the UFC who suggests to me that you must have illness or injury to be eligible to hold on to your belt for refusing to defend makes a good point.
Chael, I'm wondering if we missed a huge story in the last 24 hours. Alex Pereira, you may have seen, posted White House is a no-go. And we know that Alex has said he wanted to move up to heavyweight and fight on the White House card against who? Jon Jones. We know that Jon Jones came out and said, I want to be on the White House card and I want to fight Alex Pereira. We also know that Dana White said, no, Jon Jones isn't fighting on the White House card because I can't trust him in that spot. He let me down. I offered him $30 million. He said yes. Then he said no. And we screwed up the whole Tom Aspinall situation. Do you think, if this is in fact true, and I don't see why Alex would lie, if they are saying no to Alex fighting on the White House card, which means they're also standing by their claim that they don't want Jon to fight on that card, is it possible that that's it for Jon Jones? Because everything that he said was, I'm coming back for the White House card. He never said, hey, I'm coming back to fight Alex, and I'd love to fight on the White House card, but if they don't give me the White House card, I'll fight on another date. It seemed to be all hinged and attached to the White House card. Do we just finally get to see the end of Jon Jones? Is this it, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, but which lies the problem. I forgive Jon Jones, and Jon Jones is going through a lot right now, and he's kind of like Ilia, where I like to give him a hand up and wish him well. But he's missing the point.
What's he going through right now?
The company coming out and saying that they can't trust him, and then him making a demand that he will only fight on one. That is what they're saying. Then we can't trust you. Nobody gets to pick what card they come back, and they only come back for this. John's doing his best. He's just not very bright. He doesn't understand that that's what he's doing. He's trying to be a team player and go, man, I'll fight anybody. I'll fight Asimov. I'll fight Surreal. I'll fight Pierre. He's missing the point that he's making a demand and he doesn't get to be the selective. The real controversy going on with John Ariel, in my opinion, he's not ranked. And he's not only not ranked on the pound for pound list, he's not ranked at heavyweight. Now, there's only a couple of reasons why your name would not be submitted to the rankings committee 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning. And one is you're not under contract with the company, which we know not to be true. And two is you're in violation of a drug test, which I do not suggest for you is true. I'm suggesting there's a third unprecedented reason. But the rankings committee is not ranking Jon Jones, and nobody's asking about it. Nobody's brought this up on your show. That's a conspiracy to the highest level. How do you bring him into a main event? How do you bring him into a title fight if he's not even ranked in the top 15? By the way, how do you have a guy that's never been beat not ranked in the top 15? Somebody owes an answer for why John's name is not being submitted to the rankings committee.
Do you still think the rankings committee is a real thing?
Yeah.
Really?
And by the way, I really expected that note I just hit to go over a little harder.
Because I don't believe... It's not a real thing.
I don't understand why they don't care.
The rankings committee is not a real thing. It's not a real thing. I actually think that a lot of those people aren't actual human beings. I think they're just names.
Yeah. I don't blame you for that. We go into detail. I think that you're attempting to be funny, but it does matter to a degree. Like, we'll have a guy that's ranked number 6. I mean, they're doing it with Paddy the Baddy right now. Right now, they're saying, how is Paddy fighting for a belt? Armin is ranked number 1. And Paddy's ranked number 6. They did it with Strickland when he got a title shot against Adesanya. I mean, I'm just sharing for you. Like, we usually don't go outside of the top 5. If we go outside of the top 5, it makes a headline. And there's like this big Khalil Roundtree was ranked number 8. And it was just like front page news when he got a shot with Pierre. So to a degree, the rankings do matter. And more importantly, if you're going to publish them and you're telling me there's 15 heavyweights that you believe can beat Jon Jones, I think you owe an explanation.
True or false, Jon Jones fights in the year 2026?
Well, he'll certainly try to fight. Jon Jones does not have enough money to walk away from the sport. He will certainly try to fight. I think that he's playing his cards the wrong way. The White House card it's turned into like a reward. Mm-hmm. I don't know that was ever the intent, but everybody wants on that card. It is turned into a reward. So there is some issues from a morale standpoint. If you bring a guy in that walked away from the belt, did X, Y, and Z, went to the media and made a few bags, and he takes a spot that somebody else that traveled the road. I mean, it's largely the conversation we're having about John Cena and passing the torch to Gunther in such an incredible way. That happens in our industry as well. And to keep morale within the locker room, and you could say, well, it's the biggest fight, but come on, that's not true. There's lots of biggest fights.
By the way, speaking of time-honored traditions, surely you agree that an interim title fight that doesn't feature the number one contender or even the champion, surely you agree that shouldn't end the night above an undisputed title fight involving the greatest female fighter of all time and a two-time Olympic gold medalist. Surely you agree with that, right?
And I'm not as bullish on that.
Really?
I realize that historically we were told that it wouldn't finish the night. We've been told that the undisputed title takes precedence over the interim championship, which, by the way, does beg a little bit of question. I mean, it's better for the company if that is for the undisputed championship. In the fact, and they could have made it that. They could have taken that belt off of Ilia, and it would be better for them if they had, but they didn't. I think they should get credit in that regard. I think they should be looked at and gone, hey, you guys are making an effort to do the right thing by whatever standard you're coming to that conclusion, but you're at least making a sincere effort to do the right thing. Ariel, I don't really know about that. I think the biggest fight should close out the night. I've always thought that. I got put in this spot, though. I fought Rampage Jackson, and they closed us out with the main event. And we'd sold out the arena, but there was a title fight. And it created a problem. There was a problem at the press conference. It was a 5-round title fight. This was Bellator, so we didn't do 5-round non-title fights. So we were clearly not as significant of a match, not even in the amount of rounds. And we still closed out the night. And Scott Coker said, what do you want me to do? These guys are on the marquee. These guys are the reason you're coming. These guys are going last. I think Coker was correct to do that. I don't think just because there's a belt up that it changed things too much. But I will admit that I was in the spot, so maybe I'm just defending myself.
I'll just say I consider myself somewhat of an MMA historian. I remember your fight against Rampage. I do not remember the fight that you headlined over. I think Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes isn't any other fight. It's not just some throwaway Bellator title fight. It's the greatest of all time coming back against a two-time Olympic gold medalist, PFL champion, UFC champion. It's a big deal. It's a historic fight, dare I say.
Yeah, I'm rather excited for it as well.
Do you remember which fight?
I don't know why they're fighting at 135, Ariel. I mean, that part's just, I mean, I get it that that's where the belt is. Neither one of them weighs 135. Neither one of them wants to make 135. I don't know. You could have brought the 45-pound belt back. At the end of the day, what difference does it make? But I will tell you this. They had the opportunity to do that fight when it was a little bit hotter, and they didn't do it. I mean, what do you want? You want to come in and reward them because one gal walked away and now she's walking back into it. I said, well, why are you back? You're not better now than you were then. You don't have new training partners now than you do then. It doesn't pay more now than it did then. Like, why are you coming back? I think that that's a reasonable question. I've never been satisfied with that answer. I think it's a big fight. I'm happy that it's happening. But it's going to be a one-off. Neither one of those gals is going to continue to beat the scale at 135. Neither one of those gals would even pretend to you that they're going to be. Whoever loses that fight will never weigh 135 again. It's the whole thing's a little bit weird. I'll play along, but it's a little weird.
Chael, the last time we spoke to you, you were in studio, and we were talking about Francis Ngannou. This is right after he said thanks, but no thanks to the Jake Paul fight. Of course, Jake Paul's fighting Anthony Joshua this Friday. Since then, I have spoken to Francis, not only about that decision, but also about the story that Dana White said about things getting a little physical in his office. It seems as though the public sentiment is turning against Francis over the past month or so. It really feels like there's been a groundswell of I don't know, some negativity coming his way. How do you feel about the way in which he's handling this from a PR standpoint?
Well, it's so interesting. I guess I like bad guys because I do not like Francis, but I've liked him more in the last month. I liked his appearance on your show. One thing I got to give Francis credit for is he will face the hard questions. He doesn't run away from them. I don't understand in the least how a dum-dum can say what makes sense. Like if you get a call from Most Valuable Promotions that's offering you a multi-million-dollar main event, how you can then say that doesn't make sense, to me is laughable, but that's his life. Like I can't be upset with Francis for harming Francis. If I'm a Francis naysayer, which I largely am, Francis's decision hurt Francis. It didn't help him, so I don't have to understand it, but then to have a real professional like Anthony Joshua step in and go, hey, dum-dum, move aside. Let me show you what makes sense. And now he gets to go make the money and have all the fun. That part of it brought me an evil pleasure. But I did see your breakdown of Francis and the physicality in the office, and you are correct to notice that has changed slightly. And that story had been around for years. I heard that story for years, that Francis make contact. Not that he did with Dana, but I knew that he did with Hunter. I didn't believe the story. I never talked about it because I never believed it, but our industry had heard it. And I didn't believe it just because I thought they would have fired him right on the spot. But at any rate.
It is a little funny, though, to say, like, hey, I never wanted this guy. He's a bad guy. Now you see the real him. Now you see why we didn't want him here. When they cut ties with him 3 years ago, they did come out and say, we offered him the biggest deal. We offered him a fight against Jon Jones. Like, which is it? Did you not want? And by the way, that incident happened, if my memory serves me correct, around like 20, what was it? It was UFC 220. That was like 2018 or so. Like that was 7 years ago. He left in 2023. So feels like there's like a revisionist history thing going on. Like this guy was never a team player. He was a nightmare to deal with, when in reality, they offered him a lot of money to fight Jon Jones and stick around, and he didn't want to.
Yeah. I think there's a truth to that. And I told you about my altercation with Francis. I told you about that in the park.
Dallas, right?
Yeah, but I only bring that up because Francis didn't really do anything. I mean, he turned around and he raised his voice, but that was the same thing I was doing. I'm just not as frightening looking as Francis. Like I don't think we can hold against Francis that he happens to be a really frightening looking person. I think that Francis's actions, for the most part, are probably in line with what a lot of other people would do. But maybe he gets a little bit harsher criticism because he is a individual that would go into the category of terrifying. I don't know that that's his fault. I think Francis gets a little bit of a bad rap in that regard.
Chael, here's my take. My take is, if Jake Paul beats Anthony Joshua this Friday, it's the greatest upset in the history of sports. It's USA, USSR, 1980 Miracle on Ice. It's not like, we're not talking like combat sports or boxing. It's bigger than Buster Douglas. I can't believe the odds are like that small in Anthony Joshua's favor. Like he should be a minus 20,000 given his resume and given what he's done. Do you agree with me, or do you feel like, all right, it'll just be a win over a guy who just got knocked out, no big deal?
Oh, no. Those odds are 100% representative that the public does not believe that this is a shoot. This is the most obvious sporting event of my lifetime. That I have never, not in a local Little League game, there has never been a sporting event in my time on this earth that has more obvious of an outcome. But you are right, the odds aren't totally reflecting that. And I've even seen some fighters. Shakur came out. I think it was on your show. Wilder came out and was talking about, Jake Paul could win. And it's such an insult to boxing. It truly is an insult. What happened with Francis and Tyson Fury shouldn't have happened. What happened with Francis and Joshua should have happened. That's exactly what should have happened. And that's exactly what should happen with Joshua and Paul. And I think that is fully the public's perception. Just this match is so peculiar that the odds are a little tighter because people aren't convinced that this is a shoot.
Do you think
it is a shoot? I believe it's a shoot, but I'm just telling you, there is nobody, including Jake Paul's brother, that believed Jake Paul can beat Joshua in a boxing match.
Do you think they made a big mistake here? Like on Saturday morning, will they say that was a bridge too far?
Yeah. I mean, it's a really interesting one. Sean O'Malley's very good friends with Jake, and Sean said I'm concerned for him, and that is a real thing. Like, all I can do is put myself in somebody else's shoes. But like, if I picture in my head and I got my gloves on, and Anthony Joshua's coming at me, and I have nothing I can do with him except right and left's hands, that is a legitimately dangerous situation. That is a legitimately dangerous, where the Florida Commission could owe explanation type situation.
So you think Anthony wins?
Oh yeah, yes. I mean, it is truly the biggest mismatch in sport of my lifetime, and I respect Paul for doing it. By the way, I don't have any problem with him going out and showing this courage. But yes, of course, I think Anthony's going to win. But I believe in boxing. I think boxing is real. McGregor came out with no experience against the best ever and showed that boxing isn't real. Francis came out with no experience ever against the world heavyweight champion, and according to one licensed judge, should have been awarded the belt that night. So perhaps I hold boxing to a higher standard than it deserves.
What is your level of interest, Tyron Woodley Anderson Silva?
I will tell you, in wrestling, in my sport of wrestling, there is nobody stepping in their adult life that's going to get the jump on Sanderson or
Right.
Burroughs or Cormier of any of our great. I mean, it would truly never happen.
Woodley Anderson, your level of interest?
I'm into it. I think, I'm not going to be able to sleep the night before, but I'm into it. There's something there. I know that both of those guys would like to win. That's enough for me. I wish they'd shorten the rounds. Those guys need to be out there for 3 to 4 rounds.
Okay.
It's always the problem in boxing. The worst part of a boxing event is the boxing. like if you can just turn and burn and get us to the next package, boxing would be a lot better as a sport.
Okay, fair enough. How are you feeling, by the way?
I feel good. Am I a little talkative? I gotta tell you.
I think you know what I like.
Whatever that does, it's supposed to be like an energy boost.
I feel like you're comfortable right now. Like your leg is up. I feel like you're having a great time. Like this is.
Oh, thank you.
You're not. Basically, you're not being saddled with a partner who doesn't give and take. I know you said goodbye to your partner yesterday on your other program. You're being saddled with a partner who knows how to play ball and knows how to make you look good. You know what I'm saying?
I most certainly am. I've had a great time. By the way, I know you've got a whole array of guests.
I'm not trying to say goodbye, by the way. Are you trying to say goodbye to me? I just wanted to check in.
Oh, I appreciate that. I'm doing great.
How do you feel? It's the end of the ESPN era. You have been at ESPN longer than any of us. You were there prior to the deal. And I would imagine, by the way, are they going to keep you around? Are you just going to show up for big fights? Like, what is the status of your deal with ESPN?
I don't know. Well, my ESPN deal will expire on January 1st. I've worked my last date.
Wow.
But unfairly, I believe they have to pay me until the first of the year. If you just weren't like the ins and outs of the deal, and then as far as the Paramount goes,
yes, tell us.
I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know if Paramount is even bringing in a crew, or if the UFC and that's all going to happen at the Apex. I don't quite know from a production standpoint how that all works, or what that means for me.
Okay, but do you feel sad about the end of ESPN? It was a great run. It was a great platform for you. We had a good time, right?
Yes.
You remember
that? ESPN
that?
was awesome.
It was great.
And the people were awesome, and yes, I believe that I've been at every...
Look at us, Chael. Look at us.
We look great.
Look at us.
Well, we look young.
Yeah, we do look young. We do look young.
Or younger, I guess. But the ESPN really was a great bunch of people, as you know, Jake and Elizabeth, and won't even start the name game. But yeah, I will miss on a personal level. I believe I've had the good fortune of being at every pay-per-view for the last 7 years, which is pretty cool. I'm a fight fan.
Right.
I don't think of myself as an announcer or a sports announcer. I'm a fight fan. So yeah, if I can go to those things, man, I consider myself fortunate.
Yeah, no, it was an incredible run. I keep asking you this because I'm curious. Have you decided about the political thing, or you were still kind of waiting on seeing how things play out?
I'm waiting to see how things play out. Okay. Yeah, my position has not changed.
We're waiting. Okay.
I either get picked up on the Paramount deal, or I run this great state that I basically have been running anyway. Not from an authoritative standpoint, but nothing happens in these streets without my approval. That is a true statement.
I always felt, by the way, at the beginning of us being like this sort of arranged marriage, we had a great relationship. I always felt at the beginning that you were sort of like refuting it, because historically you felt like the relationship here is, I'm the guy, I'm the dweeb, I ask you questions, superstar fighter, and then I ask and you answer, and then I ask another. But the way the show was like we both had our turn. And I think that grinded your gears. I think you hated that, and I think at the very beginning you were sort of pushing back. Am I right on that?
That could be. I wouldn't deny it. I don't completely remember that. I do remember sitting at the Barclays Center with you, and you were zoned out on your phone for like the second or third day in a row, not giving me company. And I said to you, why is it you think that you don't have to provide me with company? And you put your phone down and you said, let me tell you something. If you ask me anything about this phone again, I'm going to shove it up your ass. I remember you saying that clearly. And I remember viewing you different. And then you said to me, you go, you think I'm a bit of a dweeb, but I'm not. And there was something about that moment. Like, I've told other people about that. I've told Tyron Woodley and Chris Weidman, Dominic, I've told people about the time you threatened to shove the phone up my ass for thinking that you were a dweeb. And you were wearing like this stocking hat that was only partly hit, like it was just balancing on the top of your head. You could not have looked like more of a dork while insisting to me that you were a cool guy. And I really appreciated that moment.
It was cool.
That was a bit of a turning point.
I appreciate that. You know what I also remember from that night? It was a big night for the company. And the president of ESPN came to say hello to us, Jimmy Pitaro. He was wearing a very cool leather jacket. I think he may have brought his son as well, brought some other important people. And I'm there. I'm like, oh, I got a chance to meet the president of ESPN. I'm excited about this. And you're kind of like, hey, bud, cool jacket. And you're talking. You're very casual, nonchalant. He leaves. You turn to me and say, who was that? And I tell you, Jimmy Pitaro, president of ESPN. Do you remember that?
Jimmy Pitaro was a very handsome guy, and I do remember that jacket. And it turned out, I said, where'd you get the jacket? And it turned out that it was a holiday gift from his wife. Yes, that black jacket.
Yes. Wow, you even remember the source of the...
He actually said that. He goes, oh, thank you. I got it for Christmas. Yeah, he was really nice. That was my one and only interaction with Jimmy Pitaro. Then I saw him years later, and I go, hey, I'm the guy that complimented your jacket. He had no idea, but he's like, oh, yeah, I remember that.
We had a great run doing the pre and post shows. I thought it was going to be a great thing. I thought we were going to be the Ron McClain and Don Cherry of ESPN. It only lasted about 6 months. One of the great memories I had was when John fought Alex for the second time and you tried to ask him a question and he said, I'm not going to answer your question. Do you remember that?
Yes.
As fate would have it, he now hates the two of us, so he wouldn't have answered any of our questions at this point. But that was a little bit awkward, I thought. But you were a pro. You sat there. You took his his wishes to heart. You didn't ask any more questions, but I didn't think that was very kind on his part.
I appreciate that. I just had that happen to me from Islam. That just happened at this Madison Square Garden card.
Really?
I got brought out a day early or 2 days early. The whole team comes up from Bristol. I mean, there's 6 or 7 of us. We're going to sit down. We're going to make this piece, and I'm going to interview Islam. And I get to the event, and I had a bit of a weird feeling. Call it a sixth sense. And pretty soon, he's not on time. And pretty soon, an hour has gone by. And pretty soon, a couple of hours has gone by. And I had heat with Islam that was very unwarranted on Twitter earlier this year when Islam was leaving the division and Ilia Topuria was coming up and there was Islam was wrong. He actually thought I said something about him that I did not say. It was a cultural misunderstanding. But he came at me on Twitter and it's like, Islam, this is my gimmick. I have no choice. But to come back and bonk you on the head like the hammer with the nail. So I do. And then surprisingly, he fired back. And so it turned into like this back and forth on Twitter. And all of a sudden I'm in this fight with Islam and I'm ridiculing him beyond belief, but I really don't want to. Like it was really based on a misunderstanding. At any rate, I have this stored away as the hours are going by and Islam's not showing up to this interview. So I finally get the notice from Charlie. He looks at me and goes, Chael, you're clear.
Wow.
And yeah, he didn't say Islam has refused to interview with you. He didn't say any of these things. He just said, Chael, you're clear. And, I'm there with my father-in-law and it's like, hey, Islam, this is my job. If you don't interview with me, they don't need me. And one thing we don't ever do is mess with the other dude's livelihood. So Charlie says, you're clear. Now, when he clears me, I notice that Brett has entered the room. So I'm thinking, all right, they're trying to get me in a car, get me the hell out, bring Islam in another door so we never see each other, put Brett in, make the spot, get it over to Bristol, of which I'm completely fine with. But it turned out that Islam refused to interview with Brett as well. He refused the entire segment, which, by the way, was better for me. It was better for me than if he just denied me. But I did try to explain that to him after the fact. I'm like, hey, whatever this is on Twitter, this is my job. Don't come after my job. Don't play that. You don't want to play that game with me. You may be the champion of the world. Don't play that game with me. I've been here 19 years. Let's not use positioning. You're not necessarily going to like how that goes, champ.
Wow. And what did he say?
Well, this is all through Ali, and I really was trying to make amends. I was standing my ground through strength, but I was really trying, hey, we don't come after, think of it from this perspective, Islam, because I don't think Islam understands. I came in 2 days early. I got Cowboy Steve. This entire team here and these cameras is here for this one interview. Yeah. I don't think he understood those things. I think he was just doing his media tour. He goes, that guy said something about me. I don't like him. Kind of like the Jon Jones thing. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, Islam, this is actually a little bit different. You're stepping in, they don't need me. If you're not going to talk to me, they don't need me. And that's, I don't think that as mad as he is at me, he would like me to be fired from my job. I don't think. So I think after explaining it that we're likely cool in the gang. Okay. But it was a little bit of a weird thing. I must tell you, because I never had heat with Islam. I really like Islam, and I really like that team. And he there is historically, though, I am correct. Islam was the champion of the world at 155. Islam had not made an agreement with the UFC at that point that he was going to go to 170. When Ilia Topuria enters the portal, if you will, at 155 and tried to fight Islam. Islam left without fighting him. That is historically an accurate timeline, which, by the way, is the only thing I pointed out, and Islam had a big problem with that.
Okay. By the way, speaking of someone who you may have heat with, what's up with you and Loke Dog, Vinicius Oliveira? I see you guys going back and forth all the time.
Okay. So I don't know where that started exactly, but that was also a Twitter beef, and definitely me. I definitely threw the first punch at that, but I can't quite remember like where that.
It was like
from.
You were critiquing his weightlifting skills.
No, that was after the fact. He put out a video. He put out a video of his own Twitter of knocking out sparring partners.
Oh, right,
he drops
right.
like 3 guys. And I'm going, hey, man, as a professional fighter that's paid to do this on TV, that's a scumbag move. Like, first off, why are you knocking guys out? Secondly, why would you have a buddy that films it? And then third and finally, why would you show to the world, right, these workout partners and their only time of getting a glimpse in the world is them falling down to you? I thought it was a weird thing. I thought it was bad form. And he said, well, Alex Pereira does this all the time. And Alex Pereira is praised when he drops sparring partners. Why are they treating me this way? But when he came at me, he then called me a jark. Now, he was trying to call me a jerk, but he misspelled jerk. Not to mention, jerk by American standards is not a very high level of insult. In fact, it's kind of playful. So when he called me a jerk, in my opinion, that we both basically lowered our guns and continued on in more of a friendly manner.
Okay.
I don't know if he would agree with that or not, but that's really how I meant it. I do stand, but he shouldn't be knocking out training partners. And, he damn sure shouldn't have a guy on the mat filming it. That part I'm very correct about.
One more, sticking with 135. Did Merab make a mistake? Did he make the walk too many times? He'd still be champion. No?
Well, yes. From that regard, would he be the champion? Yeah, sure. But did he slow down, or was his performance hindered?
Yes.
Doing 4 fights? No, of course not.
Okay.
I mean, I got to tell you, my only resentment in this sport, and I came from the sport of wrestling, is that we only got to do it 3 times a year. I would do wrestling matches 4 and 5 times a day, like every Saturday. You'd get 20 matches in a month if you were a decent wrestler. No, 4 weigh-ins, 4 training camp, 4 walks. No, I used to fight, and I used to fight 2 guys in a night, Ariel. Multiple times I have been in tournaments where I've had to fight 2 men in a night. There is no truth that doing something and getting repetitions is a negative. That's just simply not true.
It's a lot of weight cuts. It's a lot of, miles on the tires.
It's 4. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
It's 4.
I mean, but no one else does that. No one else does 25.
Sure, but it's still 4. It's 1 more than everybody else does. Everybody gets 3 fights a year. He got 4.
And that's the one he lost.
He can pretend it's a lot. It's not a lot.
And that's when he lost to the guy that he dominated the first time.
Yeah. No, you make a fair point. I'm just telling you that an athlete does not, slow down by doing something. And then we always tend to judge it. For some reason, we give Joshua Van absolutely no credit. He's making his 4th walk as well, but they weren't title fights, so that somehow changes things. Like that whole thing is just weird. Or then we look at Amanda, and Amanda's going to return after not doing it all, not making weight. I mean, the biggest question mark you should be putting on the Amanda fight is not the placement on the night. The biggest question mark is, do those girls make weight? And that is not a guarantee. The fact that fight ever goes off as a title fight is probably the riskiest bet you could currently make. Remember, I said that. And my only point, though, she's the one that would have to answer for it for not being in there for a year or a year and a half, not a guy that's getting repetitions. Repetitions are good.
I promise one more. Did Lerone Murphy, Movsar get shafted? Should they be next for Alex, or did they make the right call with Diego?
Yes, I thought that Lerone, particularly after what he did to Aaron Pico, I was in the building that night, and I was so impressed. And I have a contact to Lerone through Luke Barnott. And I just went to Luke and go, hey, just so for my own edification, what happened here? Did he get offered the match and it was too short a notice? And Luke said no. He was straight up overlooked. He said that Lerone made it very clear he will fight him anywhere, anytime, at any weight class. So I think that that's good for for the future. I think that, I'd love to see both of those guys get an opportunity at some point. There's only so many opportunities to go around. Like, you just found out that Hernandez at 185 pounds, that he's got to fight again when he's won 9 in a row. The all-time record is 10 in a row, and that's held by Merab. But Merab was offered the title fight after 8 in a row. It was Aljo, and he didn't want it. So I'm just sharing, like, sometimes there's not enough titles to go around. There's not enough opportunity to go around.
Chael, happy holidays. This was fun. Much love. Let's do it more often. If it doesn't work out with ESPN, Paramount, and the politics, you always have a home here, my friend.
Do you know that the Oregon politicians watch this? Do you understand? They tune into this show to figure out what I'm going to do. And Ariel, I have to come on and I have to act. It's an act.
Sure,
it's an act. I will walk through that field so incredibly easy and fast. They will spend millions of dollars. When I try to tell them, save your time and money, I'm going to rig this thing. The moment I found out you could rig, steal, and cheat an election, I knew I was going to be your governor.
God bless you. Thank you, Chael.
Bye, Ariel.
Happy holidays. There he is, the one and only Chael P. Sonnen. Always a pleasure. It flies by anytime he's on the program. I absolutely love it. And I had a great time with him for those first 3 years doing Ariel and the Bad Guy. And of course, we'll still be friends. We're still friends. He comes on the show all the time. Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up. Leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.